So-called honor killings are an archaic form of vigilante justice. These killings often target women who have defied their husband or father's moral code or religious beliefs. They only used to occur in certain Middle Eastern nations. But today, honor killings happen in the United States, even in big cities like Houston, Texas.
Oh my God, why did God do this to me?
While the man behind the killings in this case wants you to think that he was driven by honor, what he's really driven by is power and control. I've never worked on an honor killing case before, but when friends of mine were appointed special prosecutors in this case, I knew a lot of pressure was on them to prove to a jury that it was really not about religion at all.
I'm a very, very dangerous man. You got nothing. From the World War II.
If his rules are not followed, you will die. It's as simple as that.
This isn't an attack on the Muslim religion. This is one man and one family's extremist views.
Around midnight, my phone rings. It's the desk officer informing me we got a case. It's in the Sugar Hill Galleria area of Houston. When I pull into the driveway, I'm met by the patrol officer that was the primary unit on the call. He found this car running with the tires spinning on the pavement, and at that time he saw the victim laying across the front seat, slumped over the console. It's a woman who's deceased. She was shot in the head. We called the medical examiner's office. They took possession of the victim. We were able to then collect evidence in and out inside the car. There was part of a bullet fragment recovered on the ground. There's a cell phone in the car and a purse in the front passenger seat. In her purse, we found her wallet with her driver's license. It revealed her name was Gallery Bagherzadeh. She was approximately 30 years of age, and she lived in the community right there in the townhomes. Being responsible for the witness interviews of this investigation, I knocked on several doors, and a man who lived the adjacent building over, he could see out of his bedroom window. He saw a silver or a light blue Camry or a Honda Accord fleeing from the scene.
But the witness doesn't get the license plate. He also had no idea what the driver looked like.
We go back and we're still going over the scene, and then we meet with Robin Bandar. We were told that he was on the phone with Gallery at the time of her murder. How he's talking to her as she was driving home, and then he heard something. The line was still open, but there's nothing there. He's calling her name, Gallery doesn't respond, and he heard like a thud, and he was concerned that she may have been involved in a car accident. He drives to the townhome community where Gallery and her parents live, and he sees the police cars. Robin appeared to be upset, concerned, didn't know what happened. We explained to him that she's been shot. Gallery was murdered. After we concluded our scene investigation and the vehicle was removed, we walked to Gallery's parents' house to make a death notification. It was very emotional. Her mom just broke down, tears running down her face. Heartbreaking, for somebody to have to go through that.
When Robin Bandar shows up at the crime scene, he had been on the phone with her, so they have to take a good hard look at him to see if they have a motive, if they're upset, if he plays any part in all this.
Robin, he tells us that several years ago, he and Gallery had dated shortly, and now they were just good friends. He says she was driving home, probably a 45-minute drive, and they were on the phone the entire time. Gallery told him that she had been at Corey's, her boyfriend's house, and so we needed to talk to Corey because he was one of the last persons that saw Gallery alive. The next day, Corey came to the homicide division. We learned that Guillory met Corey while she was at school. The night this murder occurred, Corey said he didn't know Guillory was coming over that evening, that there was a knock at the door. When he answered the door, Guillory said, "I just wanted to surprise you." So he said they just hung out for a couple hours, and then she drove home. We polygraphed Corey Beavers. We think he's telling us the truth.
The initial impression by the police department is that these people are believable and that they're not involved in the murder of Guillory. But it's not a waste of time, because the more people you can talk to get a feel for what's going on in the victim's life, the better your investigation is going to proceed.
I remember it was early in the morning and I got a call. I was in shock. Who would have done something like this to her? You know, you can't find anyone more likable than her. Guillory was always the life of every party. Guillory was born in Paris and grew up in Tehran, Iran. She was a force, passionate, lively, outspoken. Back in the day, there was a movement. This was right after an election in Iran, which was taken away, or at least that's how people felt. It was a one-party regime which told everybody what to do and how to live their lives. So there were mass protests in Iran, and we just showed our support. In Houston, we worked together, planning events, hosting events, talked to the media. Our goal was to be the sound of the Iranian people, so people in the United States would be aware of what is happening. He was the one who would be there first and leave the last. Guillory was the forefront of every event. I think every person that was there knew her because she was very involved. People from her church, her school. It was just such an emotional moment.
After 5 more months of investigation, HPD is still searching for Guillory's killer. And then on November the 12th, 2012, a shocking 911 call is made.
911. Hello.
Oh, ma'am, my husband's been shot.
Did he shoot himself or did somebody else shoot him?
No, ma'am, somebody shot him. He's terrible. I hate my life. Why did God do this to me?
God wasn't the one that did it.
The caller is a frantic young woman named Nesreen Ursan. The victim is 28-year-old Cody Beavers, who's her husband. And to their surprise, law enforcement discovers he also happens to be the twin brother of Guillory's boyfriend, Corey.
I met with Nesreen, and I'll never forget what she said to me. She knew this was going to happen.
He always threatened that he'd pull a bullet between my eyes and between my boyfriend's eyes.
When we popped the vent off, there was these GPS devices.
One of them showed the date of Cody Beavers' murder.
My husband's been shot. There's blood all over the place.
I get a call about a body that's been found inside an apartment. When I arrived at Legacy Park Apartments, the crime scene unit was there. They had the area taped off, and I was briefed by patrol of what they had so far. I'm told that there's a female, Nesreen Ursan, that came home from work and found her husband shot to death inside her apartment. His name was Cody Beavers. I did not see forced entry, and I go in. The victim was laying partially face down inside the living area. There looked like there had been a fight. Body looked like it had several strikes, indicating multiple shots. There was an AK-47 rifle that was leaning against the wall where the victim was found. One of his arms was actually reaching toward that weapon. I didn't really see anything that appeared to be missing. There's expensive items there, so it rules out robbery. It appeared to be a small caliber gun from multiple shots on the victim's body, but we didn't find any shell casings. Anytime a victim is found by his spouse, you're always going to start with, the spouse. And I met with Nazreen in my vehicle, and I'll never forget what she said to me. She told me, "Sergeant Duce, I have a lot to tell you if you're willing to listen to me." And I said, "We're going to go to our office," and that's where we went. And then we sat and talked. Nazreen told me that her and her husband, Cody, had met at school, and they had been married a short time before Cody was killed. She told me that they were afraid that this was going to happen, and that she was quite sure that her father, Ali Ersan, murdered Cody Beavers.
My dad always threatened that if he ever found out that I had a boyfriend, he'd pull a bullet between my eyes and between my boyfriend's eyes.
Nazreen explained to me that her father was a very devout Muslim from Jordan. Ersan had 12 kids from 2 people. He was very controlling, wanted to control her and any of her siblings' movement, wouldn't let her date, wouldn't let her go out with other people. And she and her siblings, as well as his second wife, Shamu, had been beaten and abused regularly by Ali Ersan. But Ali let Nazreen go to school at MD Anderson, and she got Americanized. She met Galleray, and she also met Corey Beavers, who introduced her to Cody Beavers. And they fell in love.
All right. I know it's hard. Galleray, you have to wait.
At that time, Nazreen stopped being concerned about her father. She was seeking to live her life. She was seeking to not be held captive in the ways that Ali Ersan was trying to force her to live against her will. Ali Ersan found out about Nazreen seeing Cody Beavers, and he showed up at her school. He caught her, and then she was taken home and then not allowed to leave. He kept her hostage.
He was beating me almost every single day.
Your dad?
Yes.
But Ersan would make trips out of the country. He left and went to Jordan. While he did, Nazreen ended up climbing out of a bathroom window. She ran away to live with Cody Beavers. Ali Ersan returned from Jordan, and now he's looking for her. Cody and Nazreen secretly got married and found an apartment at Legacy Park Apartments in Houston. But Nazreen knew that her father was stalking them.
He knows where I work, but he also knew where I lived.
They described seeing Ali Ersan's silver van at Legacy Park Apartments, and that it would slow down and be outside watching. And so they would take precautions to park away from their apartment. They bought an AK-47 rifle because they were afraid of her father. Her and her husband, Cody, had a daily routine. She would get up and leave the house by 6 a.m.
He walks me to my car, and then I drive him close so that he can go up the stairs, and he's supposed to call me and tell me he's safe inside. But today he didn't call me. And I kept calling him and kept calling him.
How many times do you think you tried to call?
About 25 times. I got home at about 4 or something. And I went in, and I was like, Cody, and I looked around, and he was in the corner on the ground, and there was blood everywhere.
And then Nazreen explained to me that she believed her father was also responsible for Galleray's murder.
Nazreen tells the investigators that after she and Cody got married, her dad contacted Galleray to try and find out where she was, but she would not give them any information.
She told him that he needed to leave Nazreen alone because she was doing the right thing. And this made him furious. And he said, I will get you. 3 nights later is when she was murdered. It is a unique thing for a person to be telling you that She knows that her father is responsible for not only the death of her husband, but also her best friend, because they dishonored him in his mind. I learned that Detective Richard Bolton was the lead investigator in Gallery's murder.
Sergeant Doucet tells me, I got a guy that's being murdered. His name is Cody Beavers. His twin brother is Corey Beavers. So then, click. We know Corey Beavers. That's when we all come together, the FBI, the Houston Police Department, the Harris County Sheriff's Department, and because the Ursons live in Montgomery County, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, 12 people working this whole case.
When the information came out in the press that Cody and Gallery's murders might be connected, the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department just felt that sense of urgency because everybody wants to figure out what is the connection. It's somebody that knows them, who wants them both dead, so who is it?
We reach out to Ollie Urson, and he agrees to meet with us.
People believe that because of the relationships you have with Nazreen and not approving of her dating this guy that she's married to now, that you would cause harm to Nazreen.
I never gave him that impression.
We asked him if he knew Cody Beavers, and he denied that he'd ever met him.
Have you ever threatened her or her husband?
I have not talked to them at all.
Okay.
He said, no, we don't know nothing about it. You know, we asked him where they were at the time. Well, we were probably at home. We don't know.
Regarding the woman that was killed, Galari, did you know her?
No.
You'd never heard of Galari?
No.
As a friend of your daughter?
I don't know who's their friends. I don't know who they talk to. I don't know anything about them.
Ollie Ursan tried to come across as the caring father. He's just concerned about his daughter, but I've interviewed a lot of people, and his interview was deceptive.
Did you have anything to do with the death of Gallery?
I don't even know the woman. If I saw her, I wouldn't know her.
When I say the deception was there, he was showing signs. He had to step out several times to go smoke. He would repeat our questions to us.
I have nothing to do with that girl. I don't know her. I never saw her.
But ultimately, we didn't have the evidence we need to file murder charges on him.
You know, I wish I can do anything to help you guys.
My next step is I wanted a search warrant. I wanted to learn about him. I wanted to get into Ollie Ursan's world. We talked to Nazreen again, and she went through everything about her father.
Tell me what your dad's name is again.
He has multiple names, but the one he goes by is Ollie Ursan.
They learned that Ali immigrated to the United States in 1979, and he married an American girl who was only 17 years old, getting her GED at the time, named Robin Dahl. Robin Dahl later gave birth to 4 daughters named Nasima, Nadia, Nazreen, and Nada. In 1994, Ursan traveled to Jordan to find a new wife, and he returned with a teenage girl named Shamu.
He told my mother that he's just marrying that girl because he wants her to be a maid because my mom is blind. And in Islam, it's legal for him to marry more than one woman at a time.
Soon after Ursan returned with his new wife, his other wife, Robin, left him. She left behind the 4 children she had had with Ali Ursan with him. And he continued on to start a second family with Shamu, and they had 8 more children. And they all lived together on a compound outside of Houston in Conroe, Texas.
What business is your dad in?
He claims to be disabled. He has a lot of money.
From?
Many different criminal activities that he does. Fraudulent claims.
Nazreen told us this unbelievable story of how her father was this serial fraudster who had defrauded airlines, doing fraudulent lost baggage claims, public assistance agencies, food stamps, Social Security, identity theft. It just went on and on and on.
Ollie Ursan and his wife, Shamu, they played the system, is what Nazreen described.
So we executed the search warrant for Ollie's property.
We wanted to get to where we could file charges on Ollie Ursan and his wife, Shamu, for fraud, and get them in custody, get them separated, to where we could talk with them and possibly even work them against each other.
We recover almost 200 credit cards. That's somewhere in Ollie's name and the rest of them in other family members' names.
We were able to get enough information on the fraud case to where we could file charges. Once we're able to get Ersan in custody for the financial crimes, now we're at a race against time because he's only going to be in custody for a certain amount of time on a financial crime, and we're still trying to find the evidence we need to file capital murder charges on him.
That's too good.
We tried to interview Ollie Ersan, but he would start, grabbing his chest.
Sir, what kind of problems are you having?
He's faking a heart attack to keep from being interviewed, and that happened several times.
After Ollie Ersan refuses to answer any more questions, investigators decide to listen through all of his jail calls.
One of the calls that we recovered is him speaking with his son, Nassim.
Nassim, listen to me, baby. I'm a very, very bad man. I don't know how many lives have to be lost. I'm a very, very dangerous man. You God knows, it's from the World War II.
The investigators begin to wonder if Ollie Ersan's son, Nassim, is possibly involved in the murders.
Listen to me. We need you. You are the man of the house.
There were a few people that knew, and now they can't speak.
We thought maybe this is Nassim Ersan getting as close as you possibly can to confessing to murdering people without saying their names or saying I pulled the trigger.
We didn't have enough evidence to file capital murder charges on them, but in the evidence from the search warrant, there's an envelope that had been found in the glove box of Ollie Ersan's van, and written in handwriting is the license plate of Gallaray's vehicle.
This leads the investigators to do a search for any traffic stops in the area on the night of Gallaray's murder.
Shut your door for me.
And they find a traffic stop where Ollie Ersan is speeding in the area on the very night of Gallaray's murder.
That wife in the car? Yes. Okay. Here's your backseat passenger. My son.
Well, lo and behold, from the time our 911 call for Gallaray's murder to that stop was like 40-something minutes.
The time of Gallaray's murder compared to the time on that traffic stop, that would have added up to the amount of time it would have taken them to get to that point.
And they were in the same kind of car that a witness described seeing speeding away from the murder.
At that time, we had surveillance on the Ersan family, on their movement. We learned about their vehicles, learned everything that we could about them.
With FBI's resources, we have some aerial surveillance of Ollie's sons hiding something that appears to be a secret compartment on top of the roof. There was a vent on Ollie's house. It's like the eave of your house. Based off this surveillance, got another search warrant, went back to Ollie's house, and we're up on top of the roof looking for this hidden compartment. But you could tell that the vent had been tampered with. When we popped the vent off, there was these GPS devices that had been placed up inside that eave of the house. You know, the ones that you used to sit on your dashboard when you drive around.
Those GPS units were submitted to the FBI forensic laboratory where they were processed. One of them showed the date of Cody Beaver's murder. The location that it went to was Legacy Park Apartments.
The Legacy Park Apartment is where Cody and Nazreem were living when he was murdered. Now, Ollie Ersan can be directly linked to the capital murders of both Gallaray and Cody. So, friends of mine were appointed special prosecutors of the case.
Ollie Ersan was charged with capital murder of Gallaray Bagherzadeh and Cody Beavers, and his son Nassim and Shamu, Ollie Ersan's second wife, who were charged with the murder of Gallaray Bagherzadeh. As we were getting closer to trial, we were missing a first account, some eyewitness that could say, I saw Ollie Ersan with a gun. Shmoo, we felt, had all that evidence. Shmoo had time away from Ollie Ersan, that she'd been sitting in jail for quite a long period of time. Some part of his control over her had been broken, and she knew she had to tell the story. So we approached her attorney and asked if she wanted to cooperate. They said yes. And at that point, Shmoo was forthcoming.
Defense was Alan Tanner and Rudy Duarte. Very talented and very thorough, definitely formidable opponents.
We felt the defense would definitely play on the cultural religious tenet, and the fact the case was very circumstantial.
Pretty sure the fallback defense is picking apart the prosecutor's case piece by piece, witness by witness, and arguing reasonable doubt.
I want the jury to understand that Ali Ersan was responsible, because we all believe Ali Ersan's a dangerous guy. We thought that if he were to get out, he would probably retaliate against every person involved.
Four years after Ali Ersan is arrested, he goes on trial for the capital murders of Galleray and Cody. The Harris County Courthouse was still closed from damage from Hurricane Harvey, so they tried the case at the federal courthouse. Because the federal courtroom was so small, they only allowed the cameras in for the first day.
This isn't an attack on the Muslim religion. This is one man and one family's extremist views that were taken to the extreme.
In the past, I handled 2 cases involving religion. Defendants named Bhagashwarna and Sharma, and also Pastor James Eugene Tucker. In those cases, you try to walk the line of not belittling or demeaning anybody's religion while making the point that what this is really about is one man's control or power.
He wanted to kill all of those involved in bringing shame and dishonor in his mind to his family. We wanted the jury to understand the evidence was pretty overwhelming, like the GPS devices that Ali and Shmoo had on their car really laid out an unbelievable number of trips to these locations that the only explanation for them being there is to stalk and kill these people.
She's going to tell you she was kidnapped. She's going to tell you she was handcuffed and beaten by her mother, Shmoo. She's going to tell you all sorts of things, and I don't believe them. And it's up to you to decide if you believe her.
There is a lot of testimonial evidence. And so the defense strategy was to discredit those folks and to point the finger in other directions if they could.
Listen to what they have to say and weigh it out and see if you think they are telling the truth or if they are lying.
One of the most powerful and important witnesses in this case is Nazreen. Nazreen's testimony is very important to explaining the mentality of her father and growing up with that man.
You can see the fear in her as she's walking in the courtroom to take the stand.
She said that Ali definitely ruled with an iron fist when someone disobeyed or did something he didn't approve of. The beatings were severe. And she said that where the Ersan family lived, it was a compound where he controlled who came in, who left, and what happened while they were there.
It's the defense lawyer's turn to cross-examine Nazreen. Their goal is to try and poke holes in her story, to poke holes in her credibility, while making her father seem a little more sympathetic.
Alan Tanner is cross-examining Nazreen. He's doing a great job of bringing out, hey, he wasn't all bad. He did some good things. He, for instance, gave y'all pets. You remember this? And she agrees, yes, he gave us a pet. And you remember at one point he bought you a monkey, a pet monkey. Yes, I remember that. And then he killed it. I thought, well, that didn't go the way they planned.
There's only one person who can give an inside account of both of the murders of Galleray and Cody. Ali Ersan's second wife, Shmoo.
Shmoo was with him each time and knew what was happening, the planning, the plotting, the thought process, the facts of the brutal murders. She did not want to testify in front of him. She was still scared of him, and she was scared actually of her own sons. I had asked her to please look at me and not look at him to try and alleviate some of the fear. She laid out when Ali decided it was the night that Galleray was going to die. They saw Galleray leave the Beaver's address, and They followed her.
When she went back there to turn around, they blocked her in. The same's the one that went up there and shot her.
Shmoo laid out the morning of Cody's death. She said they knew at that time from making various runs that Cody didn't lock the apartment when he walked Nasreen down to her car. And so she detailed they were waiting for them to leave the apartment, going upstairs and laying in wait for Cody to come back. Just her matter-of-fact demeanor and laying it all out, it was shocking. The defense's position was she was just lying and she was trying to get revenge. She got a deal, and so she was just going to say or do whatever to benefit herself. The problem with the defense's line of attack was it wasn't just Shmoo's word that we had. We have the GPS. So there was objective evidence to back up what she was saying.
The state rested their case, and then the defense called Ali Ersan to the stand. You gotta believe that his lawyers advised him not to do that, but they probably knew no one's ever been able to tell Ali Ersan what to do.
He presented himself as an adoring father that wanted his children to make good decisions that would go along with the Muslim faith, and that he was not happy about what Nasreen had done, but he certainly would never have harmed her.
He's trying to say that Nasreen, she's the reason he's here. She is making a lot of this up, and that she's the dangerous one.
We're fearful that the jury's going to think Ali Ersan is an affable older gentleman, patriarch of his family, loves his children. That is what he wants to portray to the jury. But I know Ali Ersan is about power and control. Most of the times when you're cross-examining a witness, you're asking questions such as their yes or no. You're not really allowing them to expand on their answers. I knew Ali was never going to do that, but I knew how important it was to maintain my composure and just continually ask my questions until I got an answer, not what he wanted to tell the jury, but an answer to my question. It was justice that a woman got to cross-examine Ali Ersan. Ali does not think much of women. He certainly does not think that they should be allowed to question him. He did let his irritation for the way I was conducting my cross-examination be known to the jury.
He is staring daggers at Marie Prim, and he's got 2 pencils in his hand.
He looked at me and angrily busted the pencils, and it scared the jury for my safety. I thought, who better to convince the jury of what kind of person you are than yourself? And you just did it. In my closing statement, in the murder of Galilea Bagherzadeh and Cody Beavers, I want the jury to know there is not a tenet of the Islam faith that told Ali Ersan to commit these acts of cruelty. The decision should not be a conviction of the Islam faith. It's a judgment on Ali Ersan.
The prosecutors had to walk a fine line since religion is so involved with all this, but really when it comes down to it, this was never about religion or God. It was about the power and control and arrogance of one man, and they did a beautiful job explaining that to the jury.
I don't think the jury was out an hour, and they found him guilty.
It was a long time coming, a testament to all of the hard work put in by the prosecutors and all the investigators that worked on this case.
I think it brought more relief to the community. They just wanted justice.
Mr. Ersan, we believed, was the most culpable of the crimes, therefore deserved the most punishment.
In the punishment phase of the trial, the jury has to consider 2 factors. The first is Ali Ersan going to be a future threat to society? The second consideration is, are there any mitigating factors in this man's entire life that because of that, life is more deserving than the death penalty?
We brought Ali's first wife, Robin, who was Nesreen's mother, to testify.
The state is allowed to bring in any witness from any point in Ali Ersan's life to further describe what kind of a man he is.
Robin testified about how they had met.
I was 17, and then the people I was staying with kicked me out of their house. I just first met him, and he raped me. I was kind of ashamed. And then after that, he says, "Now I have to marry you."
He essentially rapes her and turns it into a forced relationship. She had 4 children with him.
He found that my mom was looking for me, and he took me to a different county. And he didn't let me know that she was looking for me. And he threatened me with a knife.
Robin testified that he had abused her, threatened her with weapons, tried to kill her.
He scared me a lot. I tried to get away many times.
Next, in the punishment phase, we called Nesreen back on the stand. Nesreen says Cody Beavers is not the first son-in-law Ali Ersan killed. He killed his first son-in-law back in 1999.
Nesreen says she had an older sister named Nasima, and Nasima was living at home and had met a friend of Ali's, and she kind of liked him. He had approached Ali and asked for her hand in marriage, and Ersan said no. Ersan was a Sunni Muslim, and this friend was a Shiite Muslim, and there's no way he was going to let him marry his daughter. Ali Ersan went to Jordan. They eloped to Dallas. They got married. So when Ersan returned home, he called him and he says, "Come over, let's talk about it." Nesreen was 14 at the time. She was in the house. He made all the family get in the back room. So Nesreen could hear what was going on, but she couldn't see. And she said she heard a loud shot from a shotgun, and then she heard 2 smaller shots, like from a smaller caliber weapon. Ali Ersan called Montgomery County Sheriff's Office and said, "He pulled a gun on me. I had to defend myself."
The police at the time didn't do much investigation into it. There was a gun there that fit the story that Ali had given them.
Ali Ersan knows what he's doing when he's talking to law enforcement.
The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office took Ali Ersan at his word, self-defense. It was never presented to a grand jury, and Ali got cleared in that.
For the trial, we put together the crime scene evidence from that case that wasn't looked at back in 1999. The way it's described to the police, the victim's angry and Ali just shoots him and he falls where he is. But crime scene photos demonstrate that the victim had been in a different position for a long period of time. You could see the blood going down and then turning. The scene had been adjusted. This was important in terms of, again, played into the theme of you're going against my wishes, you're dishonoring me, you're dishonoring the family, you're dishonoring the religion. And Ali Ersan's not going to let that slide.
In the punishment phase of the trial, the defense has a hard battle, but they try to humanize Ali Ersan as much as they can.
What the defense has to do is try to give the jury something that they can feel is mitigating on behalf of Mr. Ersan. They want the jury to have a reason not to sentence him to death.
And they do that by flying in some relatives of his from Jordan and also by putting Ali Ersan's grown sons on the witness stand.
A couple of his sons testified about what a great guy he was, but I can see that the jury understands that's not the way that the evidence played out. Clearly, he was abusive.
What stood out in my mind was how brainwashed these boys were. That almost made me sad.
Ersan's response was calm as the judge read the sentence, death by execution. In the words of Cody Beaver's mother, her son's murder and that of Galerie Begerzadeh were the acts of an evil coward and the verdict a victory.
That's a strange feeling to get a verdict where they sentence a person to death. It's a pretty powerful and emotional thing for everybody. Ali's sentence was important in terms of the other defendants having the opportunity to see what was potentially coming. It led to Nassim pleading guilty. He got 40 years, and Shmoo got a deal for her testimony.
Prior to the trial, Ali Ersan's wife, Shmoo, pled to a lesser offense of felony kidnapping for that time when they held Nazreen captive at the house. She's expected to be eligible for parole in 2026. To have to walk into the courtroom and testify against that monster while he's glaring at her took some courage. And I think that everybody appreciates that she's a victim in this case also.
I was left with a lot of admiration for Nasreen Ersan and for Robin Dahl, his first wife. Those are probably the strongest women that I've ever met in my entire life. To be able to stand up to a man that you know has no problem killing somebody. They refuse to be ruled by his cruelty. And to me, that's amazing.
Cody Beavers and Gallery Bagherzadeh never would have imagined that this could happen to them. Human nature says, well, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are friends with or who you fall in love with. It's just, that's the way it is. But there are some people that cuts against their beliefs enough that it's worth killing somebody.
These prosecutors did a phenomenal job. They had a lot to deal with politically and religiously, and they handled all that. If anybody deserved the death penalty, Ali Ersan did.
Cody Beaver's mother and the family got to stand there and watch him being walked out on his way to death row. And she hugged my neck and she thanked me. And it was like fulfillment, you know, it's like a lot of work, but we got there. It was sad to see a young couple, how happy they were, how happy she was, and how her life was changed. They took her husband, her love.
This one? How to survive the end of the world.
There are always bad people doing bad things. And then there are people like Hillary. Hillary could have changed the world. She could definitely have an impact. She was full of life. I think Hillary was very brave. She always did what she thought was the right thing to do.